toolbox. That's it.
Yeah, so like I don't know if you saw if you looked at the link that I sent you for America's Soccer Morning, the
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, like like I thought that was, and obviously, I mean, they're like they've got like a nice webcam and like nice microphones and shit. But I really liked their lower third graphic, which is obviously something that they created themselves.
Right. Exactly. I got a professional probably. Okay, so we should be live right now. Says we have one viewer. Okay, Brendan says he can see us.
Great. That's it. Hey, Brendan. Hope you're doing well.
Game of Thrones.
Hodor.
You know what I really hate? Tyrion Lannister.
What a bag of dicks that guy is. Am I right? Am I right?
High
Come on.
five.
Yeah. Fuck me. Ah,
He says he wishes he could say hi. Well, you just did. It's like YouTube comments. Hey.
yeah.
Hey.
Great. Fucking great.
Oh, man. I wonder if we're on a slight delay because he hasn't gotten mad at me yet about Tyrion Lannister. He says hashtag Hodor. Alright, well, that's cool. This one works. I mean, I guess we could just stay on this one since it works.
I mean, why not?
Hey, YOLO, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. It's like the anti-YOLO. Yeah. So I was biking home tonight,
Yeah.
and I biked past the Exchange, that bar on Penn by the White House, and they're playing
Yeah.
the Fast Six song.
I only bike a mile. No, wait,
Quarter
never
mile at
mind.
a time. I actually do
Yeah.
bike a quarter mile at a time. Like eight, I bike like 8 to 12 quarter miles a day. That's weird. He says his chat shows up on the YouTube page.
Oh, really?
That's what he says. Because he's like G-chatting with me.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Huh?
Huh?
No, not for me. I'm not seeing it. But it is like a solid 35 seconds behind. Like it was just talking about the Fast Six song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure for for censorship purposes and so forth.
Yeah. Well, Brendan, don't worry. We didn't lose as much of the pod as we thought we did. So that's good. Oh, we could put a clock on here. Let's. So you do this
What?
whole custom overlay. We should have Mac design a custom overlay for us.
Dude, I can't believe because so like I could when I called you, I could barely hear anything that was going on. And yeah, it's just on. It's so fucking hot in here. I need to fucking turn the AC on.
I'm so glad that Trey Burke didn't get drafted by anybody good, and now he's on Utah. Utah! Trey Burke's on Utah. I thought the Pistons were going to get Nerlens Noel, too.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, his.
I knew he was going to get picked one before the Pistons got him. I mean, you know, I'll save this for our later pod, but New Orleans made a great move, drafting Nerlens Noel and then trading him before he can be a bust
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
a top 10 point guard in the league. Drew Holiday, like a guy who was an All-Star last year, probably top 6 point guard.
See, I mean, there is stuff to talk about this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's true. And like these hangouts, as long as they work, they're so fucking easy to do a podcast, and so easy to have guests and all that jazz. and all that jazz. Is that your favorite song from Chicago?
No, it's not. I liked. Um, no, I actually like the. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of the song. But it's the one that Richard Gere sings in the movie.
Um, I thought there were some good songs. The one where the guy, what's his name? The guy who was in Dickie Bobby, Ricky Bobby,
Hmm.
where he sings
Uh,
the clown one.
Mr. Yeah, the Mr. Cellophane.
Mr. Cellophane.
That's a fantastic song.
That's a good one. Um, Razzle Dazzle. Hashtag.
Yeah.
That's from Brendan.
That's a fantastic song.
Yeah.
No, it really is. I mean, a lot of.
Yeah. So I might go see White House Down tomorrow. Mac was impressed because White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen have the exact same Rotten Tomatoes score. They're both at 45.
I just. Oh, God. I feel like because I saw Olympus Has Fallen, I had to see White House Down.
Yeah,
And like,
definitely. They're packaged deal.
yeah, and I hate that I've bought into one because I really don't want to see the other. But I'm really cheating the system if I don't see the other one.
I feel like Olympus Has Fallen wasn't very good, so White House Down has to be good.
I
There's no way both of them cannot be good, right?
Yeah, there is. There's a very good way that both of them cannot be good. I mean, there's like a fantastic high probability that both of them could be shit.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I might go see like White House Down and like I don't know because I'm not gonna go see White House Down and World War Z, right?
I have no interest in World War Z.
See, yeah, like after every review I've read, I mean, like I might go see White House Down and then Bling Ring.
Oh yeah, I want to see Bling Ring. My thing with World War Z is why didn't they just call it Brad Pitt Fights Zombies? Like, why do they have to call it World War Z? Because apparently it's nothing like the book. Like, not even like a character is the same. Is it just a money grab?
Oh, without a doubt. Which is nuts because it took forever to finish.
Probably because the original cut of it referenced the book more, and they're like, "Oh, we should just cut this out."
I mean, the original book, like, it would have been such a great, like, faux documentary.
Oh, Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Knicks.
Yeah, I know, I saw that.
I haven't really followed the draft like the last couple hours. I can't believe the Wizards drafted Otto Porter too. Like Otto Porter is guaranteed could be a bust, right?
I hope so. I mean, like, I kind of hope so because I don't like Georgetown, but I don't fucking know. I mean, you know, it's like I guess he'll compliment John Wall well.
I guess, but they had Bradley Beal. Don't they play the same position?
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I really don't know. Like,
I can't believe Oladipo went second. I mean, I think that was a good pick, but I'm shocked he went second. Oh, the the Canadian Gonzaga guy went to Dallas. That's
yeah.
funny. I can't believe that the Nets are going to trade for Garnett and Pierce. That makes me sad.
Yeah, I was just talking to my buddy who's a big Celtics fan, and he's kind of resigned to the fact that that this like everything's blowing up, Like this is, you know, you know. Uh, sorry, they they just compared David Stern to Hulk Hogan, and my
That's
my
great.
mind my mind fucking just
Well,
blew
because
up.
apparently David, I haven't heard the audio, but I guess David Stern every time he comes on, he gets booed really bad, and he's just like,
Yeah,
"Bring it, bring it."
yeah.
My brother was watching it, and he said Bill Simmons loved every pick of the draft for like the first 10 picks.
No, he didn't.
Oh, really?
No, he like if you go to Deadspin, there's video of him on that first pick just saying, "Whoa, whoa, what?" He's like, "Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that?"
And well, my response to my brother was that I have watched more college basketball in the last season than Bill Simmons has watched his entire life, probably. I mean, I love Simmons, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad he's on the draft because he should be on ESPN all the time, but like, what is this? Michigan to change ticket prices as it sells out? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. They're moving to a dynamic ticketing model this season. I don't get why this is news. So the Notre Dame game is $195 for a single game. Who cares? Bunch of fucking assholes. All right, Jeremy, how long does it take to get back from Metro Center, bro?
I don't know.
Well, I just got an email from Google. They weren't able to recover the recording from last night. Thanks, Google. Bag of Google. So that soccer game today.
Yeah, well, I just love how Italy came out with so they like both those teams. First of all, are absolutely flipping amazing,
They're both in the
and
World Cup already, right?
I mean, I don't know if Europe's qualification process is. I don't think it's over yet, but yeah, like Spain is the prohibitive favorite of winning the World Cup. Italy had a really shitty World Cup last one, but I mean they'll be back. They'll definitely be back. Um, but man, that and I mean
I really liked the hashtag I sent you.
yeah.
Like, these are the best goalkeepers ever.
No, but I mean, and look, I don't know if you've ever taken taken PKs as a keeper. It's fucking hard.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean you're also dealing with again probably the best two teams of like penalty kick takers in the world. So
Yeah, no, I know. I was just giving you shit.
oh, I know.
I just liked my hashtag was troll keeper.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jeremy just got home, so that's good. So we can start shortly. Hello. How's it going? That's cool. Jeremy's got to pee.
Nice.
Yeah. So while he's doing that, I'm trying to strip the audio from last night's YouTube video, just so that way we have it.
Okay. I think that works.
Yeah.
Man, he is really like
Who? Richard
Stern.
Gere? Oh.
Yeah, fucking Richard Gere.
Well, I mean, it's his last draft. Why not? YOLO, right? That's what they say. So it sounds like from this article I was reading that Facebook is going to start doing something very similar to Google Hangouts, which makes sense.
Look, I mean, this is. I think for as much shit as everyone gives Google Plus, I mean, like this is absolutely like the future of fucking everything.
Yeah, so we just had happy hour in our web team, like the web design company that works with us came, and they used to use GoToMeeting for everything, and they're like, we use Google Hangouts now. The only like restriction on Google Hangouts is that whoever's their client has to be on Google Plus in
Yeah,
order to access it. But they're buying like they said they're going to buy some other service that's way cheaper that they'll use in like the times when the client doesn't have Google Plus. And it's like I mean it totally makes sense. And it's way cheaper. You can record it. You can do screen share, you can do remote desktop, and it's just going to keep getting better. So yeah, I mean I agree.
wow, it's a French guy. Oh,
Ah, Tony Parker.
yeah, oh, yeah.
Do, 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 do. Am I muted?
No, I mean I can hear you.
Uh, Hang on, said sounds like you're typing, so we muted your mic. Oh, just while I was typing. That's nice. That's a nice feature.
Yeah.
Smart. SMRT. SMART. This moment, we own it. Well, I'm going to pull on Anthony and take a piss real quick.
Okay, I think that works. Unique New York. Unique New York. Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
I think he just needs a couple minutes.
Nice.
Gargoyles, gargoyles. So
You know,
I'm gonna put the labels in order right now too, so that way I can hold them up the way I did last time.
sorry. I'm just really pissed off about this Men in Black knockoff movie that Jeff Bridges is in.
Oh my god, it's like I could do a whole podcast on that as well.
Like, first of all, I really like the Macklemore, like the Ceiling Can't Hold Us song,
Yeah,
but it's fucking ruining that song for me. Second of all, don't ruin the dude, man. Like, that's awful. And Ryan Reynolds is just a piece of shit. Like, I mean, has he ever done anything worth watching at all?
yeah. Waiting.
Yeah, I guess.
You guess Waiting was a great movie.
Yeah.
So a couple of those that that we talked about last night, like you pulled up the IMDb pages and the theme songs and stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that worked well. We should try to do that again.
Okay.
If you want to test one and see where your microphone is, make sure it's okay. So Jeremy's about ready.
Okay. All right. Let me. I'll tell you. So I don't have my second computer on me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do kind of a half and half thing with my screens here.
Yeah, it's not like you really have to see the Hangout.
Yeah. No. Although I'm glad that we were able to get. I was able to get my lower third.
It looks like he's about to join.
Look at that guy.
Oh man, look at that guy and his name tag.
Yeah, we got our lower thirds. You can turn yours on if you want to. If you click on Hangouts Toolbox, you can set that. Up to you.
Where in Hangouts Toolbox is it? Oh wait, never mind.
Yeah, it says lower third. You can put it should automatically put your name, and then we put our Twitter handles. Totally up to you if you want to put that.
Yeah, if you want, you can put AnthonyD'Angelo.com.
Ah,
it's a website. You may have heard of it.
Oh, have you guys ever been to ZachBrooks.com?
Is it also gay porn?
No, it's better.
Then never mind. I'm good. I'm good then. Thanks.
Just you wait.
Spurs.
You guys should all see ZachBrooks.com right now.
What?
Jeremy, change the color of yours so we're not like you two aren't the same color. It looks weird.
How do I change it?
Right under.
I'll just change mine.
Yeah, because if two of you are blue and I'm green, it looks weird. So do I dare post this link again and just say?
All right, is mine red now?
Yep.
Guys? Fantastic.
Well, I didn't put my Twitter handle, but little topical action there.
What is it? I can't see what it says.
It says #Jawsome.
Jawsome.
Very nice.
Jawsome.
Hold on, I'm reading who the hell this guy from UNLV was.
Dude, I had no fucking idea.
All right, so I'm about to post this link. So I doubt we're gonna get any more viewers, but there's a chance we might get like one or two more.
Okay.
So just keep your pants on.
Is Brendan still viewing?
I think he fell asleep because he hasn't responded to any G chats I've sent him. We'll start in like just a minute. I'm just posting this.
What?
Hello, America. How's it going? America, I mean our one viewer who's sleeping. He's definitely sleeping because he has not responded to me calling him out for sleeping. That's okay. He's allowed to sleep. Sleepers sleep, right?
Sleeper's gonna sleep.
Sleepers are gonna sleep. I was so pissed last night when this didn't work. You have no idea.
I have a slight idea.
Yeah, it's true. You have a little bit of an idea.
Son of a bee sting.
All right. Anybody need to... Oh, I need to close my door. Hang on. Mr. Fitzpatrick, if you're still with us, please let me know if this stream dies again. Dead stream.
Great movie.
Yeah. All right. Coming in 5, 4, 3. Hello! I'm drinking a tasty Ecto Cooler on now a Thursday night, and that can only mean one thing. It's a very special childhood night. It's the Natty Brohs podcast, Childhood Cartoon Power Rankings Edition. I'm Zach Brooks.
And I'm Anthony D'Angelo. Coming up on the pod, your childhood in one giant podcast. We rank all of your favorite childhood cartoons. Well, if you're about our age. And we have a very special guest, Jeremy XL, my former roommate, Zach's current roommate, all around jawsome guy.
Totally jawsome. Hashtag jawsome. If you're still with us.
But before we get too far, our usual house business. Visit us www.nattybrohs.com.
Do you still need the www?
You know what? Let's go with it. You know, we're talking about, the 90s, right? So let's really dig into the nostalgia. You should throw some World Wide Web up on there.
Log into AOL.
Yeah, it's AOL keyword. AOL keyword Natty Brohs. You can follow us on Twitter at Natty Brohs. Email us nattybrospodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Vine. Subscribe to us on iTunes.
And Anthony and I, if you're watching on the live stream, you can see our Twitter handles right below us. Follow us on Twitter, right below us. Below Anthony, below me.
Yeah.
So, let's get down to business, guys. Last night, on Wednesday, the three of us spent a solid 2 hours discussing and power ranking the best cartoons of our childhood.
Yeah. That happened. That happened.
We ended the podcast. We were all excited. It was really good, we thought. And come to find out, Google, YouTube, did not record the first hour of the podcast. Devastating.
Just pretty much the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. So.
Pretty much. So, we want to provide you, the listener, the experience of hearing the top 35, 34 cartoons power ranked and put out there, and we are going to still deliver that. So what we've done is we went back through the magic of Google Docs, figured out the order they were pulled last night, and went through the TV shows that were not included in the recording, that were cut out of the recording. So we went through each of these, made a list. We're going to pull them in the same order they were pulled until we end up at the point where the YouTube catches up, and then we're going to do a little fancy editing and make this into one giant podcast if you're listening on the audio, and we're going to try to make one giant video on YouTube as well. It'll be an experiment. We want to be transparent here for you, the listeners, on the Natty Brohs podcast.
The sausage making is never fun, but the sausage is so tasty. So.
Oh, you got to put a little mustard on it, a little sauerkraut. Jeremy, what do you prefer on your sausages?
I go with the mustard and the sauerkraut, and it's always good to throw in some jalapenos. Add a little zing to it.
Zesty.
That's right. It's never good unless it's zesty.
All right.
Well, let's get right into starting these rankings with some discussion topics. And these rankings, if you did listen to our sandwich podcast that Anthony and I did with Stan a couple months back, where we did the same thing. We ranked the best sandwiches of all time. We won't reveal what the winner was, but we will kind of allude to that sandwich podcast throughout the night. And you can find that on nattybrohs.com if you want to listen to that again.
Great.
So, yeah. So let's talk about our criteria for making the Childhood Cartoons podcast. Now, all of us are about the same age. We're late 20s, early 30s. And we wanted to talk about the cartoons that were an influential part of our childhood. And we will get down to those. We have 34 or 35 that we will be going through tonight. And last night. It's all like a future Back to the Future thing. It's weird.
Yeah. So the years that we covered, Zach, were
1989 to 1994. So that puts me about age 4 to 9, and you guys about what, age 6 to 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, about there.
Yeah. We figured that was the most seminal moments in our lives as children watching cartoons.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that does cut out some 80s cartoons and some late 90s cartoons. Cuts out SpongeBob, Recess. I know, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
Cuts out Care Bears, which had some fantastic movies. Did you guys like Care Bears growing up?
I did. I had a Care Bear that I probably still have in my parents' house.
Care Bear stare.
It was fantastic.
The Care Bears, and they had the movies. I really liked the movies of the Care Bears. Also cuts out Transformers, the cartoon.
Yeah.
That's just
wow.
Cuts out He-Man. He-Man was one of those shows I was not allowed to watch as a child. We had a He-Man Betamax tape, and my mother took that tape away and told me it was broken.
Why?
Because it was too violent.
It was okay, but you. No, never mind. What other cartoons were you allowed to watch then?
Well, I mean, when He-Man was out and we had Betamax, I was probably 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I was more in the Care Bears those years. But I did walk around the house saying He-Man broken like a little kid. I want to go back and tell myself that's not true.
It's all a lie.
He-Man was never broken.
I wish we had a clip of that to play on the pod.
I know, right?
This is actually more of like a group therapy session than it is a Power Rankings podcast.
Yeah.
So, there'll be a lot of crying over the course of this. Just bear with us. We'll get through the tears.
Thanks a lot, Mom. Most of all, though, the one that we cut out is Hulk Hogan's cartoon.
Thunder in Paradise?
No, although, damn, that was a good show.
Yes, it was!
No, so, the Hulkster had a cartoon on for 2 seasons. I run it 26 episodes. All of your favorite, good and bad guys were there, from, Andre the Giant, and, Iron Sheik.
Team Sheiky.
So some fantastic characters there. But it was on too early for our purposes. So, if you're a little older and you want to put together a, maybe an early to mid 80s cartoon podcast, by all means. But that's not what we're doing right here. Not what we're doing. I think one of the things that we need that we need to talk about, and you know, there's some other cartoons that we're going to exclude. You know, your PBS educational cartoons, Magic School Bus, for example. Um, you know, great in its own light, absolutely fantastic. Doesn't really belong in this set. Um, and you know, we had a conversation, and not to spoil too much about the sandwich podcast, but about one kind of sandwich that we didn't take into account because, well, it's just not fair. And that was the hamburger in The Simpsons, which is still running. It's kind of like the hamburger of cartoons. We're not including The Simpsons in this power rankings.
Yeah, we really felt that The Simpsons, while it's a fantastic cartoon, obviously, uh, just really blew everything else. You know, it just wasn't a fair comparison.
No.
Um, and so we're gonna leave that out. We're not gonna include that one tonight. The Simpsons is a great show on its own, obviously. You know, it's got a great iPad game if you're into iPads.
Yeah, and look, you know, we can have an entire podcast on various Simpsons power rankings from you know, one-time characters to best seasons, to best episodes. There's a lot of material there, but we're
Clam
not going to
juice.
crab juice.
Clam. Oh, was it? I thought it was clam juice.
Crab juice.
Well, let us know if you're listening. Which one was it? Was it crab juice or clam juice?
It was crab juice.
Use the hashtag crab juice or the hashtag clam juice.
Mark Donnelly is going to be so pissed at you for screwing that up.
Yeah.
Crab juice.
Tweet us at Natty Brohs with the hashtag clam juice or crab juice with the correct answer.
Team crab juice.
Team crab juice. But yeah, we want this to be fair and we want it to be childhood cartoons.
Yeah. So, you know, I think the important question here is, you know, how are we measuring these, right? Because, again, we're talking 34, 35 different cartoons. And, you know, how exactly do you determine which is number one and, well, which has the unfortunate distinction of being 34? And so I think there are a couple different metrics that we talked a little bit about last night that I think are worth bringing back up. So one is the initial entertainment value while you watch the show, right? And then also, is it still entertaining now, right? You know, Zach and Jeremy, do you want to talk about some of the other ones?
Yeah, so, you know, I think marketability is a big one as well. It wasn't a show that had a lot of movies that came from it. Most of all, toys, Happy Meals, lunch boxes. That will definitely play in. If it was a show that was popular but you didn't see toys for it, then it wasn't as influential in our time.
Yeah, and we also factored in, of course, you know, theme song. You gotta go in with how catchy the theme song is, and also if it's a show that, you know, everybody talks about at school. Like, you show up to school next day, didn't watch the episode last night. Are you a loser?
Are you a loser, or were you a loser for watching it? That also factors in, but definitely theme song and just intro scene in general as well. We'll definitely touch on that, and we scoured the internet for the best shows and scoured our memories most of all for the best shows. We want to bring you a comprehensive list. So guys, in this hat, I have 34 to 35 TV shows. And I'm going to pull them in the order we pulled them last night. We'll kind of discuss where we ranked them last night and how it fits in. And then about midway through this podcast, we'll give you a little heads up that we'll be switching to the feed from last night. So it'll be a little circular logic for you.
I believe we'll all change clothes for those of you watching.
We will change clothes. It'll be magical, like Superman.
What?
All right, pulling the first one out of the hat. And our first cartoon.
Oh man, that was such a good start.
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
Woo!
So, you know, I know this ended up being, you know, this is going to go high on the board. I know that this, Zach, is theme song wise your favorite.
It is one of my favorite theme songs, and just rightfully so.
Yeah. I mean, it's a strong cartoon. I honestly don't remember any plot about this, but I would say if there was any cartoon that has kind of molded my lifelong dream of diving into a pile of money, it would be this cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That or money, really.
Both diving into and owning a pile of money, preferably gold coins. So it's pretty influential.
I just remembered something that a character from this that we totally forgot to mention in our discussion last night.
Which is?
The janitor. Do you remember how the janitor would turn into like a robo-duck or something like that, and he would turn into a superhero version?
I do kind of.
And he had a tire. He didn't walk around. He had like a tire, and it was like a wheel that he would roll around on, and he had lasers and everything, and then the Huey, Dewey, and Louie would ride around on him and fight crime.
See,
sort of. He was a
I don't
fringe.
remember that at all. Yeah.
I remember that I feel like from the video game, which we also, of course, have to talk about when we talk about marketability. The DuckTales video game was impossible.
I don't know. I never played the DuckTales game.
It was for Nintendo, and I've still played. I played like emulators of it, like on my computer, and it is so hard. It is ridiculously hard.
I really think that the Game Boy especially was such a perfect system for these, for like especially like the Disney cartoons, and we'll talk about one of them later on the pod, which is Darkwing Duck. But like, I feel like all these cartoons had fantastic games. So like you were always kind of immersed in the cartoon, and I feel like DuckTales is one of the quintessential ones where you were just always somehow watching.
DuckTales also got serious points for the movie. The movie of DuckTales was fantastic. Do you guys remember that?
I remember it coming out. I don't remember the movie.
It was basically the story of Aladdin. They had a genie and they had wishes. But it came out before Aladdin. So, DuckTales, woohoo, baby.
Woohoo, indeed.
Who did you identify with the most, Huey, Louie, or Dewey?
I honestly don't remember which one was which. I think the one in the blue, but only because I liked blue a lot.
That was Huey.
That was Huey. I honestly can't remember.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I also feel like that wasn't really. I don't remember ever having that discussion as a kid, and I feel like and this isn't something that we really talked about last night, but the which character is which person in a group conversation.
Anthony, did you freeze?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh. Jeremy, did he freeze?
Yeah, I heard a freeze.
Okay.
So which character was which?
Yeah, no. Yeah, so I feel like that kind of like it was like going viral before there was like a going viral, right? Like the ability of having a diverse set of characters where like you could have that conversation in the lunchroom about like which person is which. Like I think is a good a measure of a good show, and I don't really remember that with DuckTales.
True, because they were so similar. The other point I will bring up before we move on from DuckTales is DuckTales anti-Semitic?
Why would it be anti-Semitic?
Because of Scrooge McDuck and his economic views.
Yeah, but like I don't like. If anything, it would be kind of like anti-Irish because it's like McDuck. If it was like Scrooge Duckburg or like Scrooge Duckstein, like I'd be like, wow, that's a messed up stuff. But no, I think that I never really got the sense that Scrooge was Jewish. So
all right, well that's good.
Yeah. So
I guess he's based off of Scrooge from The Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's really a grumpy British guy.
Go duck yourself.
Yeah.
Go duck yourself.
So, we're, I guess, just going to say where we ranked this last night
Yeah.
for the sake of consistency and
Yep.
having everything set up. So last night we ranked DuckTales at number 5.
Solid.
And this was the first one. We placed it on the board. It's at number 5. And also we should point out that we have the scoreboard set up, just like the Sandwich Podcast, in tiers. So there's Tier 1, which is 1 through 15, Tier 2, which is 16 through 30, and then off the board, which is 30 through 34. So this is a Tier 1 show, a high Tier 1 at rank number 5. You guys ready to move on to number 2?
Let's do it. Get
All
it
right.
done.
This was one that is a lot of fun. It's all about some more animals. They're not ducks, though. They're aquatic. They're not ducks. They're sharks. And this one is about street sharks.
Hashtag Jawsome.
Hashtag Jawsome. Jeremy, do you want to explain Jawsome? Jawsome Jeremy?
Yeah.
So
Provide some context.
there was 2 things that I remembered about street sharks from childhood. One is that they would actually dive into concrete and swim through the concrete with their fins sticking above, just like a shark swimming through the water. And number 2 is that they said Jawsome. That was their catchphrase. Just like the Ninja Turtles had Rad and Bodacious, street sharks had Jawsome.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why you choose Rad and Bodacious over Cowabunga, but that's your prerogative. I didn't realize that this was on for 3 seasons, which I thought was pretty interesting. Also, I love how, I mean, you're talking about some really in shape sharks, but they ate a lot of fast food, which I felt was.
Wait, did they really? So this show was a complete rip-off of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Basically.
Pretty much. So, according to the Wikipedia page, one of the characters' favorite catchphrases was Jawsome, and their favorite food consists of hamburgers, hot dogs, and French fries. The brothers also have expressed an obvious and very vocal dislike for pizza, a nod towards the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who yada 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 pizza. So
yeah, they ripped off Ninja Turtles completely.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about Street Sharks is that the toys were like kind of big and they were like vulcanized rubber toys.
Yeah, and it was definitely during that era where like nobody's arms could ever touch their sides because their muscles were so big. So like it was just like this. I don't know. This is going to be placed towards the very end of the list. I don't know. I really don't remember a whole lot from this, and it really didn't have that big of an impact.
So, does anybody else have comments about this before we reveal the ranking?
Nope.
All right. Well, so last night we ranked this at number 29, which is one up from the bottom of the tier 2, and I think that's deserving. I might actually say a little lower looking back on it, just initially ranking it lower, only because I didn't realize the direct ripoff of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is a little ridiculous. But 29, it's on the board, and they had the sweet catchphrase of Jawsome, which if you're still watching, throughout the night you can use the hashtag Jawsome, and it's on Jeremy's screen.
Yeah. Hashtag Jawsome.
And you can call him Jawsome Jeremy if you want.
There it is.
Double J.
Maybe I'll go first in the NBA draft. Who knows?
You never know. I mean, anybody can go first in the NBA draft, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, the next show that we're going to discuss is a Fox Saturday morning cartoon. This show had some great cameos from stars, and starred one Howie Mandel. And it was Bobby's World. It was all about a little boy, Bobby, and his world. What was Bobby's last name? Does anybody remember? Was it
Generic?
And
they always messed it up and called him Bobby Generic.
There it is.
Because he was a generic kind of dude.
Exactly.
He had a big head.
So we were talking about this last night, and the only thing that any of us really could remember from this show was Bobby riding his big wheel around.
Well, I mean, there was that, and then my assumption that his uncle was an alcoholic for some reason.
And that his mother was, very Jewish. I do remember his mother's voice. Um, but this was a solid show, right?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
great show.
What did his
yeah,
mother say? Don't you know? Wasn't that her catchphrase?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
or don't you know?
Yeah.
yes. Well,
She also sounded like Sarah Palin.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and one of the great recurring characters was voiced by Pauly Shore, who just had a fantastic run, during this time.
Wait, one of the
Uh,
characters in Bobby's World was Pauly Shore?
yeah,
I did not realize that.
yeah. So the boyfriend of one of Bobby's sister was voiced by Pauly Shore,
Huh.
George.
That
Oh
is
yeah,
that is interesting. I didn't realize that. And
Wow.
we will touch on Pauly Shore again very soon in another cartoon.
yeah, yeah. So
Let's not blow our Pauly Shore load with Bobby's World.
well, so where so we ended up putting this at 14. In retrospect, do you think that that's about where it should have gone?
I mean, in retrospect, maybe it should be lower, but it's early in the podcast.
Yeah.
Right now, I think it's definitely not higher than DuckTales, but it is higher than Street Sharks.
Oh, without a doubt. And
Totally.
this was on the air for 8 seasons. Had 81
Longevity.
episodes. Yep. So
Not
it
much marketability though. I don't remember any Bobby's World toys.
or even like swag. Like I don't remember any like Bobby's World like backpacks or lunchboxes or anything like
How
that.
awesome were backpacks with TV characters on them?
They're the best.
They were the coolest
absolutely
thing
the
ever.
best.
Yep. Um, and I just think that the show it did its job. It had Howie Mandel before Deal or No Deal.
What back when he still had hair.
Yeah. So yes, we rank this at 14.
Yeah.
There will be a little bit of battling between Bobby's World and other shows, I would imagine, moving forward.
Without a doubt. All right.
So our next show that we went over, we're going back to a Disney cartoon, another one that was about some animals, some wildlife, and one that I think we were all fans of, and that's Gummy Bears.
Mm.
Well,
Here and
and
there, bouncing everywhere.
where?
They are the Gummy Bears.
So, this show was on for 6 seasons, had 94 episodes, was on both NBC and ABC, was kind of split up, was on for 4 years on NBC.
But the weird thing was that Jeremy and I both remember it from Disney Channel.
Yeah.
And it was syndicated later on Disney. So, I mean, I think the fact that, that Disney brought it back, obviously on its own channel, and saw it as strong enough to bring it back, I thought was, it definitely, it boosts the cred of Gummy Bears here.
And I don't remember a ton. There was a bad guy. There was some conflict. Definitely marketable. Had the candy, even though I think the candy probably came first. I think the big thing with me was that I loved Gummy Bears because I got to watch it when I had Disney Channel, and I didn't always have Disney Channel growing up. But it was a big moment in my life when the cable guy came to install Disney Channel when I was a little kid. I remember that. Little did I know how much I would hate Comcast, whatever they were called back then.
Oh my gosh. And this is another example of a show with a good theme song.
Great theme song.
I hardly ever. I have no memories of watching this show, but I still know the theme song to this show.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is my question, and we ended up putting this, I think, at 6. Yeah.
Yep, right below DuckTales.
So my question here is, if this had an awful, let's say it just had like a generic theme song,
Yeah.
would this be at 6? Like,
No.
It would be like lower top tier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is
For
there
me.
is there a better example of a show that was carried by its theme song than Gummy Bears?
Mm.
I But I'm just gonna play a little of it.
Interesting, bringing gracious and caring.
Faithful and friendly with stories to share. All through the forest, they sing out in chorus.
Yeah.
As long as their song is being
They're bouncing along.
Gummy bears. High adventure that we all compare. They are the gummy bears.
I mean, that song could have been on the radio, right?
Oh,
Oh, I mean, when we were kids, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about gummy berry juice because I feel like did they sell this like did they sell this like an ecto cooler or like a juice box and if they didn't, why didn't they?
I don't think they did.
Like, what in the hell was stopping somebody from
That's a
selling
good
me
point.
gummy berry juice? Like, the whole show is predicated on the fact that if something went wrong, they just took this juice and
And
they
hit 50 home runs. I mean,
Yeah.
stop the bad guys.
Yeah, right? Like, so why wasn't this marketed towards me? I feel a little offended.
I think
Yeah.
because they were so focused on marketing the candy.
But like, you got to be able to walk and sell juice at the same time. I mean, that's not an excuse. I mean, there evidently was. I mean, beyond the marketability, beyond the theme song, there was also a lot of. There's at least according to Wikipedia, there's a lot of significance to the show, and I'll briefly go through some of it. So I guess this was Disney's first major serialized animated television series, which meant that like this opened the door to everything else, right? So from Darkwing Duck to DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, to Tailspin and Gargoyles, like this was the first. So you know when you think about it, if this one just completely flops, maybe we don't get Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, you know,
That's a good
Chip and Dale
point.
Rescue Rangers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something to think about.
I mean, for me, this gets a lot of points for novelty value, a lot of points for intro, and points for kind of it was hard to find. I feel like I could always find other shows, but it was hard for me to find when Gummy Bears aired. So it gets points for that.
That's fair enough. I mean, I also feel like it was a lot harder to know when shows. Well, I mean, you had to kind of just know when shows were on back then, or you had to look in the paper. Does anybody else remember like looking in the newspaper to see when shows would be on?
Yes.
Or trying to find movie listings in the paper, too.
Oh yeah.
How
Oh
about-
yeah.
How about the? Do you remember when McDonald's first started doing the Monopoly game and they had all the inserts where you could get the free tabs?
I mean, I could do a whole podcast on a Monopoly game at
Yeah.
McDonald's.
I used to steal the inserts. I was a Sunday paper delivery
You're on the
boy.
internet, Jeremy. Don't say these things. You're not anonymous.
It was
I
a
was
misunderstanding.
10. I was 10.
You're gonna get turned down for jobs because they're gonna saw you on
no.
YouTube saying that you stole out of.
I stole inserts from Sunday morning papers.
I had no idea you had this side of you, Jeremy.
I did. It was evil. It was pure evil. I never won anything. It made it even worse.
No, the Monopoly game was rigged. Okay, so not to get too off topic.
Yeah.
But I heard that the Monopoly game, what they would do is they would release half the pieces on the East Coast, and the other half the pieces on the West Coast.
Oh, those
So there was
tricky,
almost no way you could get like pieces that matched because they
those
would be
tricky
on-
SOBs.
Yeah.
Unless you do a lot of like multi-coast traveling, like which is totally possible.
Yeah, but if you're doing multi-coast traveling, you're probably not playing the Monopoly game. You probably have enough money that you don't need to play the Monopoly game.
I don't know. I mean, if you're, I've eaten a good deal at McDonald's at airports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure airports were exempt from this. That makes it way too easy.
I feel like you have like a whole pamphlet of conspiracy theories surrounding this.
I am my brother's brother.
Well, so did we ever figure out where we put? It was at number 6, right?
Number 6, one below DuckTales. You know, they kind of go together. They fit together. We'll see if they stay together for the rest of the pod.
I think we're all happy with that.
Cool. The next one that we will be pulling out of the hat. Drum roll, please. Remember we did the drum roll for the first one last night, and then we didn't do it again. That was
Yeah,
funny.
well, what do you got to do?
YOLO.
What?
Batman, the animated series.
Oh man, this is one I pushed for.
Batman the animated series was good. It was a good dark show.
It had the voice of Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Mark Hamill, he of Star Wars fame.
Yeah,
Luke
Luke Skywalker was a villain.
I mean, it had some really good bad guys too. It had Clayface, Scarecrow, Penguin,
Yeah,
And
Bane.
the giant bat.
the Bat, and I definitely remember the toys from this show.
Yep.
I feel like I remember the toys from the animated series after Batman Returns. I feel like had the most toys, and then the animated series.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair. Yeah.
yeah, and I would say that this it had a nice variety of villains. I think again it was definitely one of the darker cartoons. Although I did watch last night after we potted, and I don't think we're going to talk about X-Men, so I can talk a little bit about it now. I did watch a couple of X-Men episodes last night after we finished, and I will say it is a lot darker than I remembered. I can't imagine watching it as a child, but I just enjoyed every second of it. So I would imagine that going back and watching Batman would be very much the same.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good one. I was actually talking to a friend today, and just talking to him about these rankings, and his first question was, "Where did you rank Batman the animated series?"
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
this is a hot button issue, and last night, I mean, I still think it was fair. We ranked this at number 10.
Yeah, and look, I mean it's still a top tier, cartoon.
Still in the top tier.
I don't like, and I think as you see the rest of these cartoons kind of come out, I think you'll realize that it's still a very strong showing. There's a lot of other good stuff ahead of it.
There are a lot of good ones coming, and I mean, number 10 is really number 3 right now on our rankings.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show our rankings, kind of where we're at. You're looking at a revision history of Google Docs. So coming in at number 5 right now, we have DuckTales, followed by number 6, Gummy Bears, number 10, Batman the Animated Series, number 14, Bobby's World, and scrolling down, we have number 29, Street Sharks.
Woo!
Nothing off the board just yet, but this tier is going to keep filling up, and it's going to get crazy, right?
Totally
gonna-
crazy.
It's gonna get crazy.
It's gonna get weird.
Gonna get cray-cray. All right, let's move on to our next one, our 6th pull of the night. We got a Nickelodeon cartoon, Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh man.
My first question, and I asked this last night, what was so modern about Rocko's life?
So I think, and it's funny if you Google Rocko's Modern Life, the third link that comes up is a link from College Humor. That's the 40 dirtiest jokes from Rocko's Modern Life. I don't know what was so modern about his life. I really I remember the show. I remember watching the show quite a bit. I don't really remember much of the plot. But
Yeah.
again, I mean, this was. I feel like this was one of the first shows that was kind of directly marketed to kids, but also very subtly marketed to adults. And and we discussed this a bit last night. A lot of the writing staff after Rocko's Modern Life went off the air went to go start SpongeBob.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so
Makes sense.
This was from a significance perspective was important because it helped launch kind of the next big generation cartoon. But from at the time, from a relevance and marketability perspective, eh.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give it points for being, appealing to adults as well as kids. But I never rushed home to watch Rocko's Modern Life.
I feel like it was on at a very good time in the in the Nickelodeon lineup, and I just watched it because I think there was other stuff on around then.
Was Rocko's Modern Life part of like the Stickly Nickelodeon stuff?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Remember Stickly? It was on after school.
Yeah.
I feel like he might have been after all of this, but what a great idea. They're like, we're
I
going
think
to
he
take
was
a popsicle
after.
stick, and we're going to make this our host. It's better than they have on ESPN for a lot of shows.
Yeah, I think it was, but because like I vaguely remember some of that, but I'm not entirely sure. So again, I know I'm referencing a lot of Wikipedia here, but so I guess this is part of Nickelodeon's attempt to lure away some Beavis and Butthead viewers.
Huh.
Which is fairly interesting. But again, it's pretty unique when you look at the other cartoons that we have here. Like I feel like it's definitely very different from you look at the ones that we the 5 other ones that we talked about: DuckTales, Street Sharks, Bobby's World, Gummy Bears, and Batman.
Yeah.
Very different.
I feel like there's only one kind of close comparison to Rocko's Modern Life that'll be coming later. So, well,
yeah.
What we decided on this, that it was one better than Bobby's World, so we ranked it number 13. So top tier for now, and above Bobby's World. Cool. So let's move on. We've seen a lot of Disney cartoons, and Disney has been doing very well. And I think Disney is going to continue doing well because we have a very solid Disney cartoon. Chip and Dale. Rescue Rangers. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Rescue Rangers.
This is one of my favorites from when I was growing up.
I mean, this shot's at the top of my board right away.
Yep.
Shot. I mean, this was a great show. Great adventures. They lived in that like hive or something, like a beehive or I don't know what it was, some weird house. There was Monterey Jack, who got very turned on by cheese, and his mustache would fill with blood and get hard. I mean, like Monterey Jack, it was kind of a little adult, don't you think? His mustache with cheese.
I don't think you know how mustaches work, but okay, we'll go with it. This really made me. I had and I think I still have an old Bombers jacket that my dad and my grandfather used to have, and like this always made me really happy to wear it because Chip like made the bomber jacket really cool when I was a kid. So, but
one of them was kind of silly, and one of them was kind of a jerk, right? Chip was the jerk, and Dale was silly. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Dale was the one with the Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, and so Dale modeled after Magnum PI, and Chip modeled after Indiana Jones.
Really?
Yep. There you are.
That is only the kind of exclusive news you get when we have our chief cartoon correspondent, Jeremy Exelon. I don't know if we introduced you as that earlier, but
that's
chief cartoon correspondent.
I have little bits of knowledge every now and then, and that's one of them. I can share with you all.
I would even venture to say that knowledge was jawsome.
That was jawsome.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
So I mean, Chip and Dale fits all the categories, right? It's got staying power. I would watch it now still. It was great when we were little kids. It was Disney, which is really doing well. Disney is like the SEC so far of this Power games. It had marketability. It had toys, characters, and I had all kinds of Chip and Dale stuff. And it kind of had the in jokes for adults.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I mean, this had I think a couple different games for NES and for Game Boy.
Also, another show that had very, very hard video games.
Yeah,
And
incredibly hard.
and the bad guys, they had Fat Cat. Probably
Yeah.
something about capitalism there, maybe, or about cats.
Or about just like obese cats, like an anti-obese cat agenda,
Just
probably.
anti-cats in general. I mean, it does lose a couple points for the anti-cat thing, but overall, it's the best one we've pulled so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think without a doubt, it was. I think it's the most well-rounded cartoon that we've, slightly above DuckTales, but I think it's the most well-rounded cartoon that we've talked about.
Yeah, and last night when we ranked this, we put this one top of the list, top of the table, top of the tier. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers #1.
Oh, the good days.
Yeah.
The good days of #1.
And Zip the bee or whatever,
The Fly.
the fly.
Yep.
He was best friends with Monterey Jack.
I would hang out with Monterey Jack. I would love to get a beer with Monterey Jack. Preferably not somewhere where they served anything with cheese, though.
I mean, you really seem to be hung up on this mustache thing, but
I said nothing about the mustaches. Well, our next one, the eighth cartoon that we were pulling tonight, another very solid cartoon, and let's just discuss it right now. It's time for Animaniacs.
Ah, come join the Warner Brothers.
So I want to immediately put up that we put this at #2 behind Chip and Dale, and it stayed very high on the board throughout. And I want to start off by saying that because in retrospect, I almost think that we shortchanged this a little bit because I mean this show was. It was so unique because it was a skit show. It was almost like a kid's Saturday Night Live, like a kid's cartoon SNL, right? Because I mean, you had all these great, side characters that were regularly occurring, and it was funny when you were a kid. You go back and you watch the skits now, it still is because, I mean, so many of these characters had pretty adult kind of counterparts. I mean, the Goodfeathers, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of kids probably watching Goodfellas, but the Goodfeathers were just kind of funny, right? And then you add on to the fact that this spawned Pinky and the Brain.
Yep. And they had Bill Clinton referenced in the theme song.
They did have Bill Clinton referenced in the theme song.
Yeah.
You're right.
And Dana Delaney. They had actress Dana Delaney referenced in the theme song,
Yeah.
which I always thought was.
This show had a ton of great references to Hollywood and to current events and pop culture. Just a very smart show that kids would like, adults would like. Had great music. Spawned another show. I mean, it's just a very, very solid show. And it was educational too. If you look at some of the songs, they had like a president's song. They had this state capitals one. I don't know if you guys remember this.
50 states and their capitals. Okay. Here goes.
Long
Baton
intro.
Rouge, Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Columbus is the capital of Ohio. There's Montgomery, Alabama, south of Helena, Montana. Then there's Denver, Colorado, and Boise, Idaho. Texas has Austin, then we go north to Massachusetts, Boston, and Albany, New York, Tallahassee, Florida, and Washington, D.C., Santa Fe, New Mexico, and Nashville, Tennessee. Elvis used to hang out there a lot,
I mean, just a solid song. The Animaniacs theme song was great.
Countries of the World.
No other show coined the phrase "Hello, Nurse" quite like Animaniacs did.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I mean, this is the thing, and I know that our rankings are set in stone. I kind of feel like we shortchanged Animaniacs a little bit. I feel like it was somewhat ahead of its time, kind of, it was a lot more brilliant than I think we're giving it credit for. I don't know if it was really, was it marketable?
Very.
I think it wasn't marketable, and that's why it
They had. I remember getting toys in McDonald's Happy Meals for all the Animaniacs.
yeah, and I had the soundtrack.
Then I guess it was marketable.
Yeah.
I just, I mean, beyond the fact that the whole show was marketing, right? The Warner Brothers, like the characters were a corporation. Like, what was it marketable? It was marketing. It was like orange juice concentrate marketing. So, I don't know. I think it was fantastic. Again, we put it at number 2 at the time.
Right below Chippendale.
Right below it.
And yeah, we can't really change these, but yeah, I agree with you. It may have been shortchanged, but you got to rank them somehow.
Yep.
And I feel like for me, when I think of childhood cartoons, I think of Chippendale before I think of Animaniacs.
We make the hard decisions here on the Natty Brohs podcast.
But let us know. You tweet at us at Natty Brohs. Let us know. Chippendale or Animaniacs?
or whatever.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Well, this next one, going back to the Disney well again. I don't know if this came before or after the movie. I don't remember what we figured out last night. Starring your favorite and mine, Goofy, we had Goof Troop.
So, I think I talked about this last night. I really don't remember watching this show at all. I barely remember its existence. So for me, I mean, this kind of warrants the 25 ranking that we gave it.
Yeah.
Second tier, like low part of the second tier.
Yeah.
But we did have an amazing voice character.
And that was Pauly Shore again. After
was Pauly Shore in the show or just the movie?
Yeah.
I thought he was only in the movie.
So I think either way, because the show came before the movie. So I mean I think either way you're looking at some sort of Pauly Shore influence here. But I
mean, Pauly Shore is one of my guilty pleasures. I love Pauly Shore movies. I'm a huge fan.
So I'm not. Wow, this is actually a bit of a buzzkill because I don't think he was actually in the show itself.
But he was in the movie, and the show spawned the movie.
Yeah. So, all right, I mean, it's 2 degrees of Pauly Shore here. I'm totally fine with that.
I'm great with 2 degrees of Pauly Shore, 4 degrees, whatever. I mean, we kind of dove into this last night, but like Pauly Shore was kind of the king of the '90s of those movies, those really slapstick, ridiculous movies. If I had to do a power rankings of Pauly Shore movies, number 1 we got Biodome, followed by Jury Duty. Then Son-in-Law. I know a lot of people like Encino Man, but that doesn't make it into my top 3 Pauly Shore.
I just what I would say is I would go I would probably go Encino Man, In the Army Now, Biodome. A Goofy movie was actually one of his most successful movies. I think Encino Man was number 1, and then Son-in-Law.
Son-in-Law was great. You want to know why? Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Who is like definitely in her prime.
Yeah.
Definitely in her prime.
Right.
We're talking Lindsay Lohan during Mean Girls in her prime.
Ooh.
Yeah. And not only that, but Son-in-Law was the birth of the Weasel.
Oh, the Weasel. And Biodome. Like, my favorite line from Biodome is "Free Mahi Mahi." It's him and Steve Ballmer. Free Mahi Mahi. I love Biodome. I think that's just. I think it's William Dafoe's in that movie.
Yeah. and Kylie Minogue, really, and like Kylie Minogue, Rose McGowan. Wow, there were some random people in that movie. But I feel like in the Army now though that was especially because it was like we were still kind of riding the high of the Persian Gulf War. Um, I mean, you had Andy Dick and David Allen Greer in that movie.
Oh man, dag.
Yeah, like it's just fantastic stuff.
And if you're looking for your Pauly Shore fix, and you've seen all these '90s movies, check out Pauly Shore's Dead. It's on Netflix. It's a mockumentary, or not even mockumentary. It's a movie Pauly Shore made. I think it's a fiction movie. I mean, obviously fiction, where he fakes his own death to get the notoriety, and then all the news outlets talk about what an amazing actor he was. And it's hilarious. It's great. But back to Goof Troop. Good times. Goofy's a great character. We put it at 25, bottom of the second tier. I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Well, who wants a body massage?
Who wants
I
my
do.
massage?
Who wants a body massage? Body massage machine. Because we got G.I. Joe coming up next as our next show to rank. And this is G.I. Joe, I think it's Real American Hero is the title, because there were a lot of G.I. Joe cartoons in the late 80s, early 90s. And I actually might be wrong on that, but this was talk about G.I. Joe. Somebody.
Yeah, so I mean, this obviously, and we talk about marketing and the power of, look, and I think I touched on this in the part of the podcast that didn't get picked up yesterday, but so much of what we're talking about was basically created just to sell us stuff, right? And I feel like G.I. Joe was a perfect example of just a franchise that was just like such an incredible marketing machine. And look, it still is an incredible marketing machine, right? I mean, I went and saw the last G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, and the last one was good.
Yeah,
in this, G.I. Joe had some great voice actors, and I had Sergeant Slaughter as one of the voice actors. That was really the only really good voice actor, but it debuted in 1989, ran for 44 episodes. It ran on the Dick Entertainment, DIC Entertainment.
Oh, good old Dick.
I feel like Dick did like every cartoon in the 90s.
Who wants a body massage?
And yes, and it lived through the YouTube memes, one of the first YouTube memes, which was taking the more you know skits from the end of it and turning them into ridiculous jokes.
Yeah.
About a down power line in the middle of nowhere.
And we talked about this last night. Down power line, has that ever been a threat to anybody's safety?
Yes.
Oh, it's awkward. I've never come in contact with a down power line. I've never had to like make a very quick decision about like, oh, do I pick up this downed power line? It's never been, I've never been offered a body massage. Like, I mean, like I know there's other, there was the other one where the kids were like with the inhalants or something. But the more you know really stood out for me.
Yeah, and it I feel like it was I think they had like very special episodes. It checked off a lot of boxes for shows and cartoons around that time.
Definitely checks out a lot of boxes.
So we ended up putting this at number 8. If memory serves me correct, it ended up staying pretty high on the board throughout. Again, still very very influential. Still has a lot of staying power.
Yeah, I mean, I think number 8 is a good fit. Definitely.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to one that really didn't have a lot of staying power. We talk about we talk about the significance of a cartoon. We often talk about the things that kind of came after it, right? With Animaniacs, it was Pinky and the Brain. But kind of the inverse to that are cartoons that kind of came from something bigger and never lived up to those expectations. And one of them is Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Oh, man.
There it is, Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin.
So, I think this was only on very briefly. how big of a deal? And I think I asked this with one of the other one. I asked this with Gummy Bears and the theme song. If Aladdin would have brought the voices from the movie into the cartoon, how much further? And we put this at number 30. We put this at the very very bottom. How much further down does this go? Or how much further up does this go? If this has Robin Williams, if this has some of the original cast
Steve,
characters.
DJ's boyfriend from Full House.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was still in it. It was really Robin Williams that was missing out of it. Like they even had one of the characters. I was looking last night, and one of the characters was even voiced by what's his face, the
Gilbert Gottfried.
Seinfeld's best friend.
Oh, Wayne Knight?
Not his. Wayne Knight's his arch enemy.
Oh,
Right.
you mean Jason Alexander?
Yeah, Jason Alexander was in it.
Really?
Huh.
So I think that Robin Williams may have had pull, but I think this just made a better movie than a show.
Yeah, I mean, and they made multiple movies.
Well,
I don't remember the show at all. I remember the movie.
Wow, yeah, you're right. So, I mean, you had Dan Castellaneta, who ended up voicing the genie, who is a prolific. I mean, between Homer Simpson and every, is an incredibly famous voiceover guy. But I mean, you also had Gilbert Gottfried. You had Jason Alexander. You had B.B. Newirth. That's crazy. She's an actress that was very very popular in the 80s.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think any of us were really that thrilled with Aladdin TV show. We liked the movie, but not, I didn't think the TV show did it for us.
I just like I kind of remember like watching it, but I don't remember it really being a thing.
Yeah. So we put Aladdin at the bottom of the second tier, right below Street Sharks. And I mean, I think that's fair. I think Street Sharks kind of novelty value raises it up a little bit more. It was semi-original. Aladdin was just kind of milking that cow.
And again, I think Aladdin, I think Street Sharks had more of a marketing value.
Yeah. And I mean, how much better would Street Sharks have been if it was Street Sharks? Way better, right?
Oh, totally.
Probably not better at all.
Way stinkier.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think it'd get any stinkier than it already was.
Yeah. That's jawsome, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. This is one that ended up getting bounced around the board quite a bit, and I think if there was one that I could say kind of ended up where it did, based off of pure nostalgia value and almost with no remembrance of the show itself.
100% nostalgia value.
It's this one. I couldn't tell you one plot line or anything, but David the Gnome.
David the Gnome.
Well, it's just it's the feel good story. It's that guy who comes off the bench who's scrappy, but like
Birdman.
Yeah, but likable, right? Like a Manu, like Manu Ginobili, and what was it like game 5 or 6 where he like exploded?
Oh,
it was like
game.
Yeah, it's like oh man, like Manu Ginobili's back and he looks like he has a yarmulke on his head because he bald
yarmulke.
Yeah, like that's great. Like that's what David the Gnome is. It's this cartoon that you kind of remember.
I think we all remembered Swift, the dog.
Yeah.
And I remember this as a show I would watch when I was stayed home sick from school.
And I remember the strong relationship that David had with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He did love his wife, and that's good. That's the institution of marriage.
Yeah, and so forth.
I feel like I've heard that somewhere recently.
But so I really again I can't really think of anything else regarding the show. And
We did talk a lot about the Travelocity gnome and how it relates to David the Gnome last night.
And I threw out the hypothesis that the Travelocity gnome was just David the Gnome post-TV career.
I mean,
yeah,
that would be amazing if that was true.
Conspiracy theory.
yeah. I mean, I also think it would be great to do if there was one character to do like a fake documentary on where is he now, or if you had to do like a where are they now documentary on cartoon characters in the '90s. I feel like David the Gnome would probably be a good one to do.
Oh, he would be a fantastic one to do. Because I feel like everybody remembers David the Gnome, but nobody could tell you anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And actually, I think that would be a really funny series. Would just be, just like a deadpan where are these cartoon characters now? Because where is do Chip and Dale still talk? Right? Are they still friends?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, did Rocco have a bit of a drinking problem?
It's way less modern.
Yeah.
Considering the shirts that he wore, I bet he did.
He was Australian, right?
Yeah. He was a dingo.
Australian from here. Jeremy, don't say dingo on YouTube, man.
Yeah, too soon.
We're trying to get a PG rating on this pod. Well, David the Gnome, we ranked it at 16, top of the second tier, and I think it's we called it the King of the North last night.
Yeah. The King of the North.
The King of the North, David the Gnome. Let's move on to our next one, and this was another one that kind of spun off of another series, another video game. This was Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego? What do you guys remember about this show?
So
not much.
Yeah, and we talked about this. If you were ranking the franchise as a whole, as far as the franchise's significance, we're talking video games. And remember, we have talked about video games and all other things that have come after a cartoon has started. But, I mean, this cartoon was a byproduct of the video games and of the live-action show, right? So it doesn't get credit for spawning the other things. If you look at everything holistically, the franchise is amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was either this or Oregon Trail, which is probably the first video game I ever played, or the Number Munchers
played Oregon
game
Trail first,
or the Number Munchers game. Remember with the guy and you would have to eat the numbers. Did you guys not? Yeah,
it was a typing game, right? Like Mavis Beacon.
It was kind of like that, but with numbers.
Where do you put Carmen Sandiego and Mavis Beacon? Which one would you rank higher in terms of computer game women?
Oh, definitely Carmen Sandiego. I mean, she was just playing hard to get.
Extremely hard to get,
without a doubt.
But yeah, I mean, this cartoon, I don't think any of us really remember a ton about the actual cartoon. And that's why I got a little bit of a lower ranking. It was these are all good shows. If these weren't good shows, I wouldn't have made the list in the first place.
No, without a doubt. But, again, this is definitely a lower tier show.
Yeah. This is, I think we ranked it last night at 27, so towards the bottom of the lower tier. And, not a bad show, still on the board between Goof Troop and Street Sharks. And real quick, let's just recap kind of where the leaderboard looks right now. So starting at the top of Tier 1, we got Chip and Dale at number 1, followed by Animaniacs. Then DuckTales, Ghostbusters, G.I. Joe, Batman the Animated Series, Rocko's Modern Life, and Bobby's World, rounding out the first tier. Second tier, we have David the Gnome, Goof Troop, Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, Street Sharks, and Aladdin. And so far, we have nothing off the board.
Oh, man. I feel like some things are about to get bumped.
I mean, things are about to get a little crazy, I have a feeling, because our next show that we're going to talk about was a good one with a very good theme song, uh, a Disney show about some bears. It was a spinoff of Jungle Book. We're going to talk about Tailspin.
What a great show.
Fantastic show.
You had the island, you had the airplanes, you had characters from the Jungle Book, you had Kit Cloud Kicker. How awesome a name is that? And he'd fly around on his little airboard. He'd like flip this little disc out and he'd surf around on his little airboard.
And this was the show that had references to Casablanca, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, well, and it was kind of a spin-off of the Jungle Book, right? I mean, because you had Baloo, you had Shere Khan, the tiger, right?
Was he a bad guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and like Kit Cloud Kicker was kind of like the new Mowgli. He was like the kid that kind of came in. I don't know, like it just had like a cool feel to it. Like I like this is a show I remember wanting to go home and watch.
And I think we looked at it and we were surprised that it only had one season.
Yeah. I was
because
really
we all remembered a
surprised about that.
cliffhanger. All three of us remembered some giant cliffhanger in that show.
Yeah, and I feel like they basically just ran it into one giant season.
So I'm going to play a little bit of the theme song. Do you think that if you went to the bar and played this song, you would just have everybody going crazy?
I feel like if you weren't with if you were a guy and you put that song on, and if you weren't with a woman, that's like instant. That's like the musical version of Axe body spray. They flock it towards you. You have to beat them off with a stick.
I mean,
that's
just a great show, great theme song,
Yeah.
all around.
So so we ended up actually having to do some shuffling after this.
We did.
Because so we moved this up to 6. We moved Gummy Bears down to 7. Just as I think we all agreed that the Tailspin overall, from its enjoyability then, its enjoyability now, its marketing capacity, everything about it, slightly better than Gummy Bears. And it had a great theme song too.
Yep.
Had a fantastic theme song.
And I mean, just still a great show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna have to watch some Tailspin this next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should definitely watch Tailspin. Find out what this big cliffhanger was and how they settled it. I guess when you think back at cartoons, like we talk about these cliffhangers, they didn't really end seasons with cliffhangers. They more ended kind of 2-part episodes of cliffhangers and then wrapped it up before the season ended. Because they didn't want unhappy kids.
Yeah, well, and like I feel like there were a lot of like 3 or 4-part episodes, right? Like the Phoenix Saga is such a perfect example. Although I feel like the Phoenix Saga was much longer.
Yeah, the Phoenix Saga was like half a season.
Yeah.
And we will get into X-Men later on in this podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got DuckTales at number 5, Tailspin at number 6, Gummy Bears at number 7, and G.I. Joe at number 8. So our first tier is starting to fill up a little bit, which is great. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Exactly.
Well, any last words on Tailspin before we move on? I just think a good show. If you haven't watched it in a while, watch it. If you're at the bar, you want to meet some ladies, try playing that song.
Put it on.
Do some cloud surfing.
Well, I was saying, let's go into one that I think, is almost the opposite of it, and that's Addams Family. And I say almost the opposite because, Tailspin also came from a movie. Tailspin came from the Jungle Book. It was derived from a larger movie. so was Adam's Family, but Adam's Family didn't live up to anything that the movie was, and
Because the movie was a TV show first, and then it was a movie, and then it was a TV show again, and it wasn't very funny.
No, not in the least. Not in the least. Did you like the Raul Julia like Christina Ricci like live action movie?
Yeah, it's fine. I liked Adam's Family Values better. I remember growing up. Also, Christopher Lloyd was Cousin It. Christopher Lloyd, he of Doc Brown.
That was funny.
Yeah. I mean, you had Christopher Lloyd, you had Angelica Houston. You had a great cast, fantastic cast, by the way.
I feel like if Adam's Family was on TV right now, I'd probably change the channel, watch something else.
Like the movie or the show?
The movie.
Yeah, it wouldn't do it for me.
Yeah, it just, I don't know.
It was fine when I was a little kid.
It was nostalgia. It was nostalgia for some of the older folks.
Yeah. So Adam's Family, none of us really remember the show very well, the cartoon show.
Yeah, and it definitely suffered because of that, and we ended up putting it down at 31.
Yeah. So Adam's Family was actually our first off-the-board show.
Never even had a chance.
Didn't even have a chance in the tiers. I just think that's what happens when you put out an inferior product.
Yeah.
All right, shall we continue? Back to the Disney well. Back to the Ducks. Darkwing Duck.
Oh man.
Everybody loves Darkwing Duck.
Another good theme song.
Yeah.
Good theme song. Good characters. Great show.
And fantastic video game too. Like I think probably the best cartoon related Game Boy game there was.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one.
But
also,
I was gonna say, but we ended up putting this at number 12. What about Darkwing Duck was less than some of the other Disney cartoons? What about it made it, a lower pick than Gummy Bears or DuckTales or Tailspin?
Well, see, I think one of the things was, and I did some research around this, it actually is a spin-off of DuckTales.
That's what I thought.
But I don't know. From what I remember last night, the reason we put it down was just we all agreed that it was a good cartoon, but there were members amongst us that just had not been huge Darkwing Duck fans and had no recollection of like a bunch of toys for Darkwing Duck.
I don't remember any Darkwing Duck toys really.
Yeah, it was a great show that was on there, but I think it was the marketability it came down to. It just wasn't.
I never remember rushing home to watch Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
And I'll play a little bit of the theme as we're. I mean, this is like total like '90s rap rock, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
it was a good theme. And if you are interested in TV show themes, there are, and you also like drinking, there's a very good TV show themes power hour, I think on YouTube, where each minute it plays a different 90s TV show theme song, 80s and 90s TV show theme song. It's definitely a lot of fun if you're looking to do a power hour.
Yeah.
Just Google it. You'll find it on YouTube or College Humor or something. And that's a fun one. And the other thing that I would just like to point out, as we have been searching for these themes on YouTube, if you YouTube any of these TV shows, well, not any of them, but a lot of them, you can find full episodes of these shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
So if you really want to watch some Tailspin, or want to watch an episode of Rocko's Modern Life, or any of the other shows we talk about tonight, just Google it. You'll find episodes on YouTube. Maybe not high quality, but you get the gist of it.
And a lot of these are on Netflix as well, and probably on Hulu. So again, a lot of what we're talking about is definitely accessible.
Yeah, and I just we're gonna move on to kind of our last one that will transition between last night's podcast and tonight's podcast.
Yep.
Any last words on Darkwing Duck?
We put it at 12. I think that this was one of those that we all know is a top tier. It's just it's kind of hard to figure out where in that top tier to put it. But I think I think we're all pretty happy with where it is.
Yeah. So let's just recap the tiers real quick before we move on to our next one. So tier 1, we have Chippendale Rescue Rangers, Animaniacs, followed by DuckTales, Tailspin, G.I. Joe, or Gummy Bears and G.I. Joe. Coming in at number 10, we have Batman the Animated Series, then Darkwing Duck at 12, Rocko's Modern Life, and Bobby's World. And tier 2, which hasn't filled up too much yet, David the Gnome, Goof Troop, Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, Street Sharks, Aladdin, and off the board, not even making a tier, is Addams Family. So yeah. I think the list is shaping up nicely. I think we're going to have some good do battles towards the end. And this next one is kind of our bridge to our podcast from last night. If you guys were listening last night, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. We lost the first hour. We've now redone that first hour. And we're shortly going to be transferring you to our podcast from yesterday. And what a better time to go back in time than to talk about the cartoon version of Back to the Future. So let's just get into it real quickly. What do you guys remember about Back to the Future?
I remember the dog.
Einstein.
I remember the train. Right, if I remember, no, was the train not in?
No, I'm nodding. It was the time machine train that was created at the end of Back to the Future Part 3.
It was very Doc heavy. I remember being a very Doc heavy show.
Well, it was all about the Browns. It was about Doc and Clara and their kids, Jules and Vern. There's a little bit of Marty in there, and they traveled all over time to dinosaurs and to other times in the past and in the future, and had adventures and continued Back to the Future, which is my favorite movie. I think this is a great show. I'm very happy with this one. I'm glad it's on the list, and I want to see it do well.
Well, we ended up putting this. We ended up putting this at 13. I mean, I think this ended up staying as a top tier cartoon. I think this was one of the few cartoons that came from a really solid movie and did not disappoint.
No,
right?
It did not. It was a great show. It had good toys. It had great marketing. I remember McDonald's Happy Meals had toys for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it was, and frankly, it was a cartoon that wasn't like exceedingly dark. Right, like a lot of these other ones, like Batman, and we talked a little bit about the Spider-Man cartoon and about GI, and quite a bit about X-Men. A lot of those had very dark elements to it. This was just a fun cartoon.
Yeah,
and it did it very well.
It did, and when we put Back to the Future at 13, we moved Rocko's Modern Life down to 14, and Bobby's World to 15, rounding out the top tier. And so I think, anything you guys want to say about Back to the Future before we kind of switch over?
Nope.
No, I think we're we're pretty solid.
Well, we're going to take this over to a part 2, and when it joins into part 2, it's going to be in the middle of the Back to the Future discussion. So you might hear some repeating of what we just talked about, but then you will be fresh on to the rest of the podcast, where we will round out the top tier and the second tier and come up with our top 35 cartoons of our childhood from 1989 to 1994. So enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Yeah. YOLO.
YOLO.
YOLO.